Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is KIODIEKIN. Thank you guys for joining me on this nice Thursday afternoon. Before we get into it, I'm going to try to go through as much material as possible first before I read a lot of the chat because I have a lot of personal feelings that I definitely want to address. I want to make sure everything kind of stays concise. So if you guys do chat something, super chat, or whatever the case might be, I'll try to do my best to maintain it, but primarily I want to go through some information that I've collected over the past couple of weeks, share with you guys some information that I've heard. But additionally, there were some comments made by John D and also several other YouTubers that we're going to talk about as well, because I don't like people being misled or lied to, especially when it has to deal with your money. You know, I love technology. I love gaming. You know, I do know that a lot of this is a hobby for a lot of people, and we do want to keep this as positive as possible. However, with that being said, at the same time, I do believe that... Here, let me go ahead and switch over. I do believe that a lot of information that has been put out by 1UP could have been prevented, primarily by people in the community. And the first person that I would definitely think that needs to be held accountable is Justin Wong. Reason being is when ARCADE1UP first released back in 2018, he's a fighting game champion. He's played at EVO. He has his credibility out there. And it was him and somebody else that they used for their first promotional material. And when the company first released, he said that the ARCADE1UP was arcade perfect, or ARCADE1UP done correctly. And so I thought that he would have been the perfect individual to kind of test a lot of these things, especially with the controllers, to see if it would be well suited for the community. But primarily, let's go ahead. I'm going to go ahead and play a quick video clip. I'm sure you guys have already seen this. I'm going to try to do my best as possible not to play a lot of these clips, because you guys have probably seen it. But again, I do have other subscribers and people that are not a part of the retro gaming community that, you know, I have people from the Chrono Zen, RCs, Fireworks, and whatnot, you know, things like that, and other tech that I review here on the channel. And so a lot of people aren't going to be aware of this. And so we're going to play this clip. I'll probably play it a couple of times, but the second time I'm going to play it back with my commentary. But before we do that, I want to show you guys this footage here, or actually this screenshot. This was sent to me by a follower. This was sent to me by a follower the day after John D made that a comment or those remarks on Kong's show. And it says, online gameplay is available as soon as you connect your cabinet to the internet. I do believe this individual had reached out to them, asked them about how come there was 2 games on it, but they're providing 3. Just wanted to get some clarification about that. And so this was their reply. And so that's why the title of this video is, I'm tired of ARCADE1UP lying. Apparently whatever it is that they need to get straightened out needs to be handled internally. But, you know, aside from that, stuff like this really pisses me off, because I detest people being taken advantage of, especially for those of you who may be familiar with gaming, familiar with products, whatnot, but not familiar with some of the other intricacies that have been said. And I can tell you that the video in the comments that John D made on Kong's show, he wouldn't have made that in an open forum to maybe somebody like me, somebody who's made images, people who are devs who are familiar with retro gaming and have made this kind of stuff work. And so it really baffles me as to why he would feel comfortable saying some of this stuff when it could either be disproven instantly, because if you are in the know, then you know how some of this stuff works. So let's go ahead and play that clip really quick. But again, this email that you're reading was sent to me from a subscriber. Online gameplay is available as soon as you connect to your cabinet. Was sent the morning of, not even 12 hours later, but it was sent the morning of the next day after this video. So let's go ahead and play this really quickly.
And will they go live?
No. It won't be for a few weeks.
It won't be for a week, so people can still play. Okay, got it.
Yeah. It's just I'll just tell you guys this now. Like, this game is, you know, like a lot of games, was not meant for online play. You know, and especially this version of the game that is is really taxing on this chip, even though it's a higher chip, right? And then to be able to run 60 frames online, it's been very difficult. We're having difficulties with online performance right now that we're working through, and when we get closer to it, we'll be really honest about what that online experience looks like. When we get closer, when we get closer to development and knowing what that next patch is, I'll let the community know where we're at next week.
Sorry, I can't get to everybody's questions, but here's a good one from
Guy throws.
This is another YouTuber. This is he's known by Stuttering Craig. He was one of the first guys to get NFL Blitz last week. I just wanted to show you guys a couple of clips in terms of why he was frustrated with the game.
In the air, people moving towards him. What the hell is happening?
So that's pretty much the last time that we heard from John D. I'm going to play this clip one more time. Again, I'm going to stop it, pause it, give you guys my narrations to it, because in my personal opinion, even though that Cyberpunk 2077 was a AAA title, I believe this is far worse than Cyberpunk 2077. Reason being, as he stated here in the video, he's not sure if the hardware that they have in there is going to work. Now, you have product on the floor as a company, and you're not sure if it will work online, if it will play online, and then you can make excuses as to the performance of it. So let's go ahead and play this really quickly, and then I'll give you guys my commentary to go along with it.
not live. If they get shipped next week, how soon will they go live?
No. It won't be for a few weeks.
It won't be.
So if he's telling us it's not going to be ready for a few weeks, number one, that means they've never beta tested this. And then number two, that brings in the question as to why would you get a license for something and you're not sure if this is going to work online? I remember back in the day, I think that was probably acceptable. Building computer parts, you would just go out and buy a PC game, think it will run on the computer, but then you have to check the specs. But nowadays, who goes out to buy some equipment, let alone license something? You need to have an understanding of what hardware requirements you're going to need, and if it's possible, and even have a working copy or a dummy model prior to getting a license. Now, I do know licensing is very tricky. It could take years. It could take months. It could definitely take, obviously, a number of years to go through the licensing and whatnot. But to get the license for something, and then even up until this day and time, just 2 weeks ago, you're not sure if your hardware requirements are sufficient enough to run it as you've advertised it with online capability. Here, let me go ahead and pull this up really quick. With online capability, and then you still have your customer service agents telling people that it is online right now. That's just inexcusable. So let me go ahead and play a little bit of the rest of this.
For weeks so people can still play. Okay, got it.
Yeah. It's just I'll just tell you guys this now. Like this game is, like a lot of games, was not meant for online play.
Now I just got to stop him right there. Now, his first reason is he says that a lot of games were not meant for online play. I think the first time that we've seen remastered ROMs was when Xbox 360 and PlayStation 3 Marketplace started to resell and remarket and remaster a lot of these same ROMs. Now, he's saying that a lot of these games weren't meant to run online. I can't think of any game that's harder to run that hasn't been done online. You have Ninja Turtles, we have Double Dragon, Marvel vs. Capcom 2, which is one of the tougher ones to run online. We've had Killer Instinct. We've had Outrun. I have a lot of games on Xbox 360, Xbox One. We've had, Ninja Turtles was released twice running online. We've had The Simpsons run online. We've had X-Men. But again, you could tell that he's making excuses as to why they haven't progressed further than where they are now. To have a product in the store And now he's using this excuse as to these games are hard to run online when we've had this type of game in the same class, and games like even Tekken Tag Tournament, games, I think with Tekken Tag Tournament and other Tekken type games were in the arcade, but came with online playability with PlayStation 3 and PlayStation 4. But we've never had a problem. And I know where this is coming from, because, and the reason why I wanted to pay really close attention to NFL Blitz and Marvel vs. Capcom 2 is, even with emulation, working with RetroPie and other single board computers, you can't slap a lot of games on a interface and just think they're magically going to work. They've gotten away with that up until this time period. And so even up until this time period, they've never really faced any challenges dealing with emulation. Most of the games that Arcade1Up has released, and not just them, like Ad Games and Arcade, most of the games that you guys haven't seen, you can run them on a cell phone. In fact, one of my buddies years ago, back in 2005, had a lot of games running on his Nokia. I think it was a Nokia 5280, whatever the case might be. But 2022, there's no reason not to have any of these games running. In fact, Marvel vs. Capcom 2, obviously Ninja Turtles, Simpsons, and some other retro games, those came out in 2009. But his answer here is, well, a lot of games are hard to emulate and run online. So, and they weren't meant for online. But that's just his first excuse.
And especially this version of the game that is really taxing on this chip, even though it's a higher chip, right?
Okay, now for those of you who have followed my channel, let me reintroduce myself. I've worked with the Supreme team. I've been familiar with emulation for about a good 15, 16 years. I've ran emulation on Odroid, Raspberry Pi, obviously PC. And so apparently listening to him talk, and whoever he's getting his information from isn't really familiar with emulation. I can tell whoever is on there, the development team, they must be brand new. But several years ago, you guys are familiar with this if you followed my channel, and you guys can research all my information in my playlist, that we had to remove, well, just so you guys know, not every emulator sees all the cores. Okay? They're using something very equivalent to a Pi. Let me go ahead and pull this up here. I want you guys to see this information and not just take my word for it. Want to make sure. I'll pull it up here in just a few minutes, but not every emulator sees all the cores and sees all the RAM. If you guys are familiar with Windows operating system, if you have a 32-bit OS, it only sees 4 gigs of RAM. If you have 64-bit, it sees anything higher than that. Same thing applies here. Not every emulator is fully taxing and utilizing the full board. So if you guys remember my Vulcan video, Wolfenos was on there, one of the guys from Supreme, and then also Level 1 was on that live stream as well. And we were playing around with the N64 parallel emulator, and come to find out, it was that emulator, Parallel 64, and maybe a couple of other ones that would only utilize the Vulcan drivers. And so this is what happens when you're not familiar with emulation. You start blaming the board and blaming all of your hardware specs when you're having problems with the actual emulator because you didn't do your research on this kind of stuff prior to getting your hardware.
And then, to be able to run 60 frames online, it's been very difficult. We're having difficulties with online performance right now that we're working through.
Now, I definitely want to address this as well in regards to this clip. Apparently, Kong's channel or this video had to do something with the loyalty list. I'm not familiar with the situation. And so this part of the clip in the video took place an hour and 26 minutes into the video. So a would-buy customer, for those of you not familiar with Arcade1Up and really follow any of the channels, you wouldn't know he said any of this. None of this has been broadcasted officially. We haven't heard from him since then. Nobody has brought this to the attention. In fact, I only found out about this clip because apparently another YouTuber named Kevgret, he was watching. He alerted Rexer, and then Rexer made a video, and then I saw it. But none of this information has been publicized in a way for you to find it on your own. you would happen to stumble across Kong's channel and then sit through for about a good hour and 26 minutes into the video for something entirely not related in order to find out this question, find out this answer. And again, keep in mind, this was something somebody asked. This was not something volunteered, you know, like, hey guys, we got a special announcement to make. You won't see this on any of their official channels, Instagram, Twitter. So somebody had to pull his arm or pry to get this information in order for him to respond. It wasn't given freely. So let's go ahead and continue.
And when we get closer to it, we'll be really honest about what that online experience looks like.
So he says he's going to be honest about what that online experience looks like. Today is, what's today's date? Today is October 6th. And I believe the first pre-order dates for for NFL Blitz went up. I believe it was August. I want to say it was August 15th was the first date for this. Let me go ahead and pull this up really quick. I want to see if I can find it. But at any rate, here we are, October 6th. People started receiving this maybe 2 or 3 months ago. But in the meantime, while they're trying to figure it out, while they haven't beta tested anything, while it hasn't been checked, because not only do you have to just test it online to make sure everything's running as it should, you also need to test it according to the changes and modifications that they made too. So you have maybe 2 or 3 different parts of beta testing that really needs to be done. But while they're struggling trying to figure it out, your warranty and your return policy is slowly being exhausted. I believe Best Buy has a return policy of I believe is 90 days for Best Buy. I'm sorry, 15 days for Best Buy. And Sam's Club, in some cases, it may be extended a little bit longer. But additionally, for some of the other retailers, you only have maybe 30 days to fully test this out to see if you really like it. But in the meantime, you won't even get a chance to enjoy the online experience and play it as it should while you're exhausting your return policy. And so the next question then would be, is Arcade1Up going to bear the cost of this if their online isn't ready for another 60 to 90 days while people exhausted their return policy? Because in all honesty, yes, that is false advertisement. If you have a product that is being marketed as is, it needs to be ready, especially within their their return policy. But let's go ahead and continue.
When we get closer, when we get closer to development and knowing what that next patch is, I'll let the community know where we're at next week.
So I can get to everybody's question.
All right, so it's been 2 weeks. I was going to go live last week, but I wanted to wait an additional week because I like to do my research. I like to do my homework and, find out some additional information. Now, just so you guys also know, I did reach out to corporate. I did speak to several managers from Sam's Club and Walmart, and I've also spoken to corporate as well. In fact, let me go ahead and pull up some screenshots here. I want you guys to see this. And this video clip here is of me walking through a Sam's Club several weeks ago. Let's see here. Give me a second. I'm just looking for some footage. All right, so just so you guys see that I have proof that I actually called a Sam's Club. There's a phone number. Oh, sorry, my bad. Let me switch over. All right, so that's one of the phone numbers that I did call. It belongs to one of the Sam's Clubs that first had NFL Blitz. I believe this is the one where Kong and Console Kits went to go get the first unit. I did call that location, kind of go over their policies as far as breaking embargo and street dates. So that's one phone number there. Then I have another one here as well. This is the corporate number. Let me go ahead and pull it up for you. And that is the corporate number to Sam's Club. So I spoke with them a couple of weeks ago. I believe it was right after the day of this video, but that's the information I have. If you guys want to call that phone number, document it for your own personal records, you can go ahead and do so. But the reason why I decided to give them a call is because I don't like to sit around and ask questions. I don't like to sit around and wonder. I don't want to sit around with Twisted Gaming, what's going on. I like to get accurate information. And so I was watching P-Dubs' video. He did a review. If you guys don't know who he is, he makes a lot of ARCADE1UP channels, videos and whatnot. Give me a second here. I want to find the screenshot because I like for you guys not to just like or dislike my video based upon something I'm saying. I want to give you guys some evidence and some information. And that, I think that's another thing that... all right, here we go. So this comment here was left on... Here, let me switch over. I'll find it in the meantime. All right, so this comment was left on P-Dubs' video. John D says, the cabinets were released early, breaking embargo. P-Dubs had penned this comment on his video, and thankfully he did that, because other than that, some of us probably wouldn't have even seen it. But he had made another comment in regards to this, and then of course there was a thread that went down, and then there's some other people there commenting on the situation. So this is the comment that really pissed me off above anything. I believe in being respectful of somebody's workplace. Okay? Comments like these, breaking embargo, breaking street date, these are instant termination offenses. These are instant termination offenses. I really respect people who work in retail. I've used to work retail. I know the kind of crap that goes on. I know social media is really tough right now. You know, people making videos, putting your images up online, you know, and you're just there trying to make a living. This comment, the cabinets were released early, breaking embargo. This should have been an official statement, official comment on one of their feeds, whether it be Twitter, Instagram, whatever it might have been. AOL Instant Messenger, Yahoo Messenger, ICQ, Merc, whatever. It should have been somewhere officially where everybody can see it that follows their direct channels. This comment is made on P-Dubs' video, who has nothing to do with the company. He makes content. And then you have to kind of fish for this comment. And so this is really serious in terms of legality. Breaking embargo and breaking street date, this would typically get a manager and a sales associate responsible fired instantly. No questions if, ands, or buts. I've never known Walmart or Sam's Club to break street date. And so when I spoke with corporate and when I spoke with several managers, they even went into detail when I asked them if there was a street date or if there was an embargo. And they informed me that they have never had a street date or any embargo with any ARCADE1UP product since they've been working with them since 2018, since, what was that, October or September of 2018. In fact, they even went into detail as far as how their process works. They said, typically we get our shipments in, and their items are labeled, let's say, for Black Friday or a specific date, and they set those aside. They can't even touch them. Secondly, all of their systems are unified. They're all hooked up together. So they said even if a manager or a sales associate puts something on the floor, the system would not allow them to ring it up. And so that's a breath of fresh air, because we're not here to get people fired for us just trying to have our fun. And the reason why I bring this up is because I've seen several ARCADE1UP moderators and people following along saying, yeah, they broke street date or they broke embargo. And we need to be very mindful about our thoughts and comments, because that is a fireable offense. And, you know, we need to have more respect for people in their workplace. And this type of comment shouldn't have even been made publicly. This should have been made directly to their own personnel through their own marketing team or privately. Us as customers, we didn't need to know any of this stuff. And then on top of it, here, let me pull up my other screenshot here. There's no official street date. I've talked to several friends. We've all been paying attention to this. This was taken about a month and a half ago. Ships early October. And then other comments you've seen posts saying it releases mid-October. An official street date is an actual date. October 1st, October 15th, 12 p.m. You guys are in the gaming. You guys know what street dates are. I have never, in fact, I think the first time Walmart started doing early releases, quote unquote, was back in 2010 when I got Halo Reach. And I was at GameStop, had a pre-order, went and bought Halo Reach because I obviously pre-ordered for several months. But walked over to Walmart and they had it on hand and they sold it to me at 12 a.m. And this was back when Walmarts were 24 hours. And that was the first time they started selling video games, to my knowledge. Because typically they wouldn't put out games until like a week and a half or 2 weeks later. And again, for those of you guys just joining, I appreciate the comments. I will go through them before I end this live stream because I want to address any concerns that you guys may have. So this is their date here. There has not been one public announced street date. If there is, please put it in the chat so we can make sure I have the right information. I'm not here to sell you guys on some BS. We want to make sure we have our facts, but there's no street date here. And so the reason why I believe that they made this claim about embargo and street date is for this, well, obviously, so that, gives them time, to work on their online capabilities. But additionally, let me go ahead and pull this up here. I want to show you guys this information. So if you guys have already seen the clip where it says, hey, we're going to start shipping these out as early as Monday. Let me make sure I got this. I really hope I haven't forgotten any of my... All right, so they replied back to my subscriber. Thank you for contacting ARCADE1UP support. I checked Walmart on site. It reads NFL Blitz. This was about about a day and a half later. I think it was that Saturday or Sunday after John D's video with Kong. Regarding your pre-order, our logistics team and third-party warehouse are preparing for bulk shipment, and hopefully we should start shipping from Monday. So this was right after the outcries went out. People were like, hey, when is my unit going to get here? But I believe this is why they made this statement. If you guys aren't aware of this, you guys will probably see it here for the very first time. Give me a second. I may have to log in through my Adobe Acrobat Reader because it keeps logging me out. Yeah, no, we don't want to add a phone number right now. Not now. Sign out this device. All right. So you guys may not be aware of this, but I want to bring you guys some information. Now, typically when you go through a pre-order, it allows you to typically hold on, or a company could pretty much hold on for your money for a year, 2 years, and I think the longest pre-order was, what was that? I think it was Half-Life something. There was some weird pre-order thing where it was like pre-order for like 5 or 6 years. But nevertheless, there's a law in regards to how long a company can hold your money once you make a purchase. The internet is fastest growing source of mail order sales. It is estimated that consumers spent $200 billion on internet-based goods. I'll skip through all of this. By law, you must have a reasonable basis for stating that a product can be shipped within a certain amount of time. If your advertising doesn't clearly and prominently state the shipment period, you must have a reasonable basis for believing that you can ship within 30 days. Let's see. For definite delays of up to 30 days, you may treat the customer's silence as agreeing. Oh, let me hear. If you can't ship within the promised time or within 30 days, if you made no promise, you must notify the customer of the delay, provide a revised shipment date, and explain his right to cancel and get a full and prompt refund. So there is this FTC law that if you buy anything online, a business has 30 days to ship you your merchandise. 30 days. You have 30 days to ship somebody their merchandise, or they have to refund you their money. Now, the only time a company can get away with it is simply by claiming it's a pre-order. This is why street dates are very important, because if you order something or pre-order something online, and let's say, I'll just make up a term. Let's say Halo 5 or whatever, Halo 6, right? You order that, and then Walmart has it at the store a couple of days later. That publisher really needs to go bump down or crack down on that store, because if that game is not ready, they either have an obligation to deal with that store directly, or they have to release the item. And so I know a lot of people have seen this, saying, hey, ARCADE1UP is being nice to ship within 30 days or whatnot. No, there's actually laws about this, that they cannot hold your order if there is honestly no pre-date. And there was never, any street date. and there hasn't been a distinctive street date. And so they decided to release this because they're probably aware of this. I'm not sure if they know or not. But obviously, if you guys have seen this at Best Buy, you've seen it at Sam's Club or whatnot. They can't just hold on to your items unless giving you a choice to either keep it or refund it. If you bought something from me on eBay or anything else, or anybody or any business, they have to ship you your item within 30 days or your money back. And so this is why I believe some people may say, oh, they were being nice to ship their items or whatever. No, it's this right here. Walmart, there hasn't been any set pre-sale date or street date for any of these items. So they're not legally entitled to just hold on to your money. However, if there's no guaranteed street date, saying it's coming in fall or mid-October, whatever, that's not a guaranteed street date, especially when retailers are already selling it or have it available. All right, give me a second. I'm going to go through this chat here and see if I can answer any questions so far. Let's see. Sit at this point advertising a feature that isn't available. Could you imagine Xbox or Sony doing that? Edward, in some cases that is okay. I've noticed where companies will say, hey, online availability will be it may be 60 days or 90 days. I don't remember the specifics of it, but I have in some cases see where a publisher or a company will say online is not going to be available until the next 15 days or so. I think, even Call of Duty, they've had certain features like that where they would say, Warzone's not going to be available until another 3 weeks. So I'm not familiar with that. I know everything's a little bit different, but we're, just speaking more or less in terms of reference to companies taking your money and holding on to items, and they can't justify as to why they haven't released it. But again, I've talked to some buddies of mine, and we strongly believe this is why they held on to the item or tried to say it was mid-October, is because the online features weren't ready yet. Wolfen knows, yeah, but it's okay to put out a half-assed product where the public may not know that. Exactly, and again, there hasn't been anything officially said about the online. You've seen bits and pieces of emails. You've seen customer service reps misinforming my subscribers and followers. The list just goes on. Let's see. Reminds me of Street Fighter V being released and nowhere near compatible. Took like a full year. Jamie C says John D never gave a straight answer either. That doesn't help with the imagery of the company. Oh, it gets worse. Let me go further here. Let me go pull up some other screenshots. This was... No, that's Arcade Money. I think I still had some files uploading because I had to transfer it over to my other computer. All right, so here's just some more background information about typically what happens when a store gets caught with violating embargo or violating street date. Yes, stores that are caught will get a fine and will likely fire any employees that broke the street date. I believe that repeated breaches could lead to the store not getting game shipments from that publisher as well. Although I think that rules change a bit once multiple stores start breaking the street date. One of the ideas is to guarantee competition between stores. By having everyone start selling on a certain date, if some stores break it, obviously that hurts the competition, so other stores will start breaking street date as well. If the news gets widespread enough, I think in these cases, the initial stores would be fine, but the other stores that reached wouldn't be. Now, just to let you guys know, I have bought from a store years ago that broke street date. That was back in 2018 when I bought Gears of War 2. It was a store in Los Angeles. I'm not going to out them who they are, but this was back before street date was really a big thing. But they had to sell it to me cash, and they couldn't even register it or sell it through their register because they would get tracked that way. So, but again, the reason why you can't break street date is because typically pre-orders are supposed to go first before they actually hit the open market. So, and the companies that are doing that could pretty much be held liable for doing so, because there are drawbacks to doing things of that nature. So, all right, let's see here. All right, so if you guys know who Glenn Palamanto is, he put out a message. He runs the Arcade1Up global fan page. He says, it's a shame Arcade1Up still can't make a quality product or care to. Thankfully, GRS does. Real arcade quality without the arcade price. Products not found. Now, this was several days after the live stream where John D made that comment. And, of course, all of us have been sitting around waiting for an answer, especially you customers that want to know when is my Arcade1Up NFL Blitz going to be able to go online. You haven't heard much on Twitter. You haven't seen anything on Instagram or Facebook. You haven't seen anything officially. However, we do have a response in regards to something else. This was taken before it was taken down. Somebody sent this to me. And this is his reply to somebody else, obviously, in the group. This wasn't directly, well, this is on that same post that Glenn made. He says, Jim Harper, this is highly unprofessional and way out of line. No matter his issues with 1UP, he is an admin of the official Facebook group. He's spoken publicly many times about his grievances, and I tried to reach out to him multiple times to talk to him, but no reply. I even offered to go on Game Team show. I'm not sure which channel he's talking about there. Game Team show to talk about it, but he refuses to join if I'm not there. So if you guys want to screenshot that or whatever, this was taken down about maybe 10 minutes afterwards. Somebody sent this to me, but I brought this up to paint a picture. You haven't heard anything about your order that you spent $600 on. However, we have senior vice presidents in charge of licensing dealing with some Facebook squabbles over here to talk to somebody else about some other stuff that hasn't been addressed. So your order, which still hasn't been shipped, that you paid for, that you can't get online with, which is what is advertised to do, and you're looking for an answer next week, as he said he'll get back to us next week to give us an answer, but has time out of his day to reply back to Glenn or reply to somebody else in regards to something Glenn posted. Strange, huh? We haven't heard anything yet. You haven't heard anything yet. All right, I'm pulling up another screenshot. That's why you guys haven't seen anything. Give me a second here, because there's plenty more to this story. All right, let's see. This was on one of my other videos, but let me pull it. I'll save that for later. You know what? I'll save this for later. That has nothing to do with that right now. No, we already went through that. I should probably delete these as we go so that way I save time. Oh yeah, so yeah, I'll deal with that here in just a minute because we're going to cover all of this. So again, I do believe, obviously as a company, and the reason why I called a Sam's Club, I am a member of Sam's Club. All of us are either members or customers of Sam's Club and Walmart. But, I don't like people or companies being thrown under the bus, needlessly. And this is not how to handle things. And I do believe that, not all of it. I'm not going to sit here and blame all of this on Tastemakers or Arcade1Up. I do believe that we as members of the community have a responsibility to point out these issues. And, I do get some review units. If you guys just kind of doubling back a little bit, I've been sent a number of review units. One of them was sent to me. It's called the One-Shot Light Gun. If you guys have seen that here on the channel, it's like a controller. Then you can flip around and use it as a light gun. And when I got it, it was also the beta test, make sure it works, give you guys my impression of everything, because I'm completely honest here on the channel about everything that I get. But a lot of times it's not just about doing a review, but I try to, speak to the developers or the inventors of this product so they can better improve upon their product. And so I even took it upon myself to leave several community posts. You guys have seen it. My personal Facebook page, my Facebook groups, RetroPie, some other groups I run like Arcade Paradise. I've also left it probably even in the Chrono Zen community as well. But the bottom line is I reached out to them because I never heard back from any of from this company. And it would be irresponsible of me to receive an item, work with the company, however you want to call the relationship, and not put the word out there on the street, especially when they're taking money. And again, I believe that the content creators, I do believe that they all have their own way of definitely doing things, but we need to be more responsible in terms of doing research prior to inviting people on a channel, prior to just putting out information, just basing it on what somebody says, and finding out information before we either go live or before we actually invite somebody on the channel. Now, I do know that a lot of people, you guys have asked this question, how come Kong or Moat or Michael B didn't bring this up? And in some aspects, I definitely understand it. But yeah, you guys were right. This question should have been addressed either directly right after the live stream privately, but it should have been indicated by anybody on that live stream or anybody who knew that he made these comments. Should have been highlighted, either create a clip, either post it on official forums to get the word out. Because I don't feel inclined for myself to know something's not going to work or is going to work, and I don't even tell you guys. And I can't sit here and call you guys the homies or whatever, and I don't say, hey, Wolf knows this isn't going to work, or maybe they got it in store. Because even a lot of you, even talking to you, you didn't even know that they were going to have this blitz at Sam's Club for an additional $30, and you also got a stool with it. And so as we're content creators, whether we have a platform or whether you're just in a group, if you know something, especially that's important or vital, this information should be shared and publicized. I don't think I even have an excuse or a reason to know something and then not tell you. In fact, even something totally not related to this subject matter, there was a review unit. Actually, no, it wasn't even a review unit. I bought it. I have a RC card called a Arma Felony. It's a $700 RC card. It travels at 85 miles an hour. And I ordered the Bluetooth telemetry link. I was the first person to order it. I think I was the first person to do a review on it. And other content creators actually, I wouldn't say other content creators, but other people in the hobby group had a problem with it where it would desync and some guys lost control of their car. Now, oh, thanks, P-Dubs. I appreciate it. If I didn't catch that, thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you for doing what you're supposed to do. This was an RC car. And so I emailed or messaged the guys who make, I think it was Horizon Hobbies. They manufacture this car. And I said, hey, I see this guy's video. I sent them the video. I said, this person is having a problem with their RC car. They're having desync issues where they're losing control of the car. Now, an RC car can hurt somebody, could probably kill somebody, could take out your ankle, your kneecap. But we're talking about a $700 vehicle traveling at 85 miles an hour. Now, I'm not a company sponsor for this company. So here's what I did. I emailed them, I messaged them. I said, hey, I had the same exact issue happen. I didn't record it or add it to my video because I thought it was user error. And because of that, they pulled the app. Because of that, they pull the app. So every content creator, if you guys are hosting companies, representatives of these technologies, you need to do your best to make sure that you have a firm understanding of how some of this works and not just let somebody get through it by saying some things. Because I can tell you, John D wouldn't have said some of the stuff that he said on Kongstream with me and Wolfenos and maybe some of the other guys level 1 sitting there, because we know that's a bunch of bull to sit there and blame the hardware requirements when you should have tested this years ago and have an understanding that not every emulator can see all the cores on your possible PCB. And we know that's the issue. So again, you need to make sure you have your understanding, do your research, and have your know these things when you're inviting people on, because you shouldn't even invite me to your channel or somebody else if you're not knowledgeable about some of these things. And if somebody says something that needs to be corrected, then you should make a subsequent video or a clip, maybe address them on the side and have them clarify some issues, especially when you're dealing with somebody's money. All right, $700, $600 is a lot of money, but that's the due diligence we should be doing in our own community when people are making claims about some things. But thank you, P-Dubs. Here, let me go ahead and put this up here. He said he literally made a video the next day showing that clip and letting people know. That is the proper thing to do, because nobody said anything. And just like we go around showing memes and making fun of people and saying silly things all day, that's the kind of information that should definitely be shared. Big titles like Blitz and MVC2 without full functionality and not being forthcoming about it or dodging questions as to fixes is straight up fraud, much less not working out of the box as advertised. So this is why Marvel vs. Capcom 2, they're using Flycast Dojo. They're working on it, and it's not working right now, the internet, as far as online playability. And if you guys, there is another video. I think I have it uploading. I'm not sure if I'm going to get around to it, but there were some comments made. Even I think it was on the video or in the comment section where he said that he would show us more information or online gameplay closer to that date. And here we have Marvel vs. Capcom 2 in the homes of people, and we don't have anything. There's nothing. So what did people buy when they got the game? They got it, obviously, like myself, if I got it. I don't currently have it. I'll wait for it to come to the stores, but I would get it for online play because I got Xbox 360 and other ways to emulate this game. I don't need to have it. And I do have it legally on Xbox 360. I didn't buy it on PlayStation. I got several Xboxes, but I don't need to have this game just to play it locally. I have it to, I could play it on any one of my Xbox 360 units. But all this information that we know or that is being disseminated should be said officially, and we should have had a statement by now. And this is the kind of stuff that really irks me. And I wanted to get on here and, just express some of my thoughts and concerns, not just from somebody being a consumer, being a fan of retro gaming, but also somebody that has optimized games on front end myself. If you guys haven't seen Venom or anything related to the Supreme Team, you guys could check out some of that stuff. I also have reviews on the playlist. Now, I definitely want to bring up another topic here that is very important. And because some of this, well, I'm not going to say that, but I want to show you guys, if you guys are familiar with this. This is called a RetroArch screen where you could go in and change some of your frame rates. Now, some of you have reported who have played NFL Blitz, and we've seen the video, say that this game is running 60 frames per second, but it's running kind of fast. That's pretty much been the consensus of opinion from a lot of the reviewers who have actually bought this product. And so I just want to show you a screenshot from one of the emulators. I believe this is Flycast. And you could do this with a number of emulators that are out there. This is a RetroArch screen. And just so you guys know, I've gotten up to 240 frames, or roughly 200 to 240 frames playing Marvel vs. Capcom 2. You can manipulate the frame rate in the emulator. I can't find the video. I've actually done it before, but there is a setting. This is one of the settings here where you can manipulate the settings in the within the emulator. And the only reason why I bring this to everybody's attention is because everybody is saying this game is running faster. So if you're actually in RetroArch or any emulator, you could go into this menu and you could speed up the gameplay. Now, fast forwarding a game doesn't make it run at 60 FPS. Just like I sped up Marvel vs. Capcom 2, I was running anywhere between 125, then I got up to like 200, then got up to like 240 frames per second. This would be the equivalent of putting your video on fast forward, but your TV calculates the video footage going faster as actual frame rates. And 60 FPS does not have a variable counter. So, for example, I've noticed in several videos, I think it was Kong's video and several others, there was slowdown time. If it was 60 FPS, you wouldn't have slowdown time with 60 FPS. It would be a nominal 60 frames per second. So I'm just showing you guys this here because I'm sure after we get the PCB and more people start to understand things, what's going on with this game, you can kind of take a look at it a little bit better. But I hope they didn't do this, because if they sped up the game to make it look like it's running 60 frames per second, it's not truly running at 60 frames per second, because you could do this in emulation. And those of you who are in the chat who've made images, you guys are, you know what this setting is. You can speed it up, you can frame skip. I've had videos where I've said, I have videos on all this stuff. You guys can watch some of my gameplay, and I've said ignore the frame rate counter, because the frame rate counter for FPS will give you a false readout. It reads exactly how fast the game is going, but it doesn't calculate well, actually, typically somebody would only do this or speed up the game to prevent any other glitches or errors when there's some extenuating slowdown time in the game. And so again, I only noticed that because Kong's video had slowdown time. If you watch his videos, actually his video, there's a time step. I think it was around the 16-minute mark when he was playing. I commented that, and then also somebody else is reporting that as well. So I'm sure the devs, they did something here. I can't prove it. Don't have that information in front of me, but just because somebody says the game is running at 60 FPS, if they're looking at the frame rate counter, that frame rate counter is reading exactly how fast the game is going. It could be sped up, and you can manipulate that. That doesn't make it true 60 FPS. So for example, if I'm edit a video and I have 4K 60 FPS in Adobe Premiere, you guys are watching it on YouTube, whether the internet's choppy or whatever, it's still 4K or 1080p or 720p, 60 frames per second, regardless. It doesn't have a variable change rate. So if you're not familiar with that, just definitely wanted to show you that screenshot right there, because I'm sure this will come up when some of the other guys start looking at these PCBs. Let's see. I think this is some additional gameplay footage here. Not sure if this is pertinent. This is... All right, this is Kong's video. Oh, hold up. Here, let me play it. Let me switch over. This is Kong's video. You guys won't be able to hear the audio. But there's plenty of glitches and technical difficulties within this game. And as you can see, this is the same unit that Console Kits and the other guys, P-Dubs, were playing at that timeshare or that Airbnb. There's a letter B here in the middle of the screen. So if you guys are new customers, you get this. This happened around the third quarter mark. Haven't seen this happen on anybody else's channel or anybody else's review, so that is something else to watch out for. This could be patched, hopefully, but again, when they release patches, you got to make sure the patch doesn't break anything else. But it happened throughout the entire quarter of this game, and it didn't go away until the beginning of the fourth quarter. So you can see that there. So I just definitely wanted to share that here on the channel in case you guys definitely wanted to see it. All right, here's another clip I just definitely wanted to share with you guys. This is the MAME settings for this is the MAME setting for Arcade. I'm sorry, not Arcade, but NFL Blitz. So for some of you interested in possibly modding this cabinet, you would also have to go into the emulator, depending upon which emulator you use, and also which joystick settings are available. But you can manipulate the settings within emulation to change it from 49-way to 8-way joystick. So if you decide to put 8-way joysticks in there, even if you get them to work, you would have to change the setting within the game to say from 8-way to from 49-way to 8-way. So for those of you not familiar with emulation and you think you might start tinkering, this is a setting to go in there and adjust that. So let's see, Robbie Green here, he has a comment. Didn't the Tron Arcade 1UP cab adopt the same exact Eternals? Robbie Green, yes, to my understanding, talking to other people in the community and speaking with actually Glenn directly, it is my understanding that ARCADE1UP did adopt, or give me one sec. Yeah, they copied his design. That's my understanding. And so I've heard Glenn, or maybe you guys have also heard Glenn say on his channel, or I think it was on the Tech Buzz's channel, that he'll never buy another ARCADE1UP. It's because they copied his design and then they resell it. And he was willing to work with them. And so that's the information and understanding that I have, that they copied it, mimicked it, his patent, and they released or made something very similar to what that they're offering, something that was a lot cheaper. And so that's why it looks very similar. All right, let me just take a look at the chat here. Twisted Gaming. Let's see, I can run Arcade Blitzkins on my Xbox perfectly. Series S. Yeah, you can run Yeah, there's plenty of emulation out there. I can run ARCADE1UP'S games on my Xbox Series S perfectly or close to it. Even the N64 runs on the Wii U. Yeah, and I still have it here on PlayStation. That was actually my favorite version. In fact, I preferred the PlayStation version over the N64 version because I thought it was too squarish. A lot of the characters had polygons to it. And so, that's just my thoughts on that. All right, I want to show you guys another clip because I've seen some other content creators and people putting out the information. I think it was in that video again with John D. I'm not going to play it again, but they said that this game is even hard to run on PC. I'm not sure where they're getting this information from. So this is NFL Blitz 2000 PC version. It was released by Atari, and this is abandonware. You could have got this back in 1999 or 2000, but there was a PC version to this. And the only reason why they had issues with this is because of the 3DFX chip that the game ran. But I've seen content creators say that it's impossible. In fact, I think it was Mike of All Trades who said that in the comment section on one of his videos, said that it's very difficult. In fact, I'll pull it up here. All right, he says because higher end PCs have problems emulating Blitz correctly, and thermal throttling can definitely impact performance. Obviously, that's not true. Any PC dating back to 2005 can run NFL Blitz on PC. In fact, there was a version even made specifically for PC. But I'll show you guys the rest of it here. Let me see if this is it. No, this isn't it. There is. I want to show you guys the additional content information. So this is if you guys want some of these screenshots, just hit me up. I can send them to you. But yeah, this game does run fine on PC. Many home arcade modders add this. You guys have computers, and anything over 2005 can typically run NFL Blitz. Perfectly fine. So if this game had always had issues, then they wouldn't have made a 1999 or 2000 version. I don't know. That is a good question. If they're probably referring strictly to the arcade version, but the arcade version MAME has been around since late 90s, and NFL Blitz and all the hardware requirements to run NFL Blitz were possible even dating back to 2005. So if they were speaking of independent version, just like I just showed you, or the arcade version, you're just dead wrong. It's just dead wrong on information. And you guys can, you don't have to take my word for it because you guys probably have it on your computer right now. So I'll put this up here. They're probably strictly referring to the arcade version. No, the arcade version has the hardware requirements and where 3DFX 2004, 2005. Okay, well, yeah, thanks for that info. Wasn't aware of that, but no. So if you're a PC techie, and I'm sure I have a lot of people watching that are PC techies, you're familiar with PC specs, everything available to run NFL Blitz would have been available 15, 16 years ago. So, but again, I'm not sure where some of this information is coming from. This is why you have to know your own tech specs, because just based upon a lot of the information that John D has put out, and if you're in the know, you can obviously contradict. Well, it's going to be contradicting. You would know to either shut it down, or if you're somebody who's just talking out of their rear end. Because you've done it yourself. You've had images. There are people that have actually optimized it. That you have a community that are familiar with these specs. And so just putting out a blatant answer, just thinking that it would go okay over with the audience or the people hosting the show, no, just totally uncalled for. That's just what you want to say when individuals are just trying to take advantage of you. All right, I want to make sure that I pulled up everything here. Got everything there. No, I don't think I've gone through all of my videos. Give me a second here. I'm going to pull up some stuff. The dude that outed Cyberpunk, was he caught, or what happened with that situation? Well, and that's another thing. It's not so much about calling somebody out. Yeah, that is true. I mean, yeah, nobody calls them out in fear of a losing relationship. I don't have a close relationship with any of these people in terms of companies like Arcade1Up, iArcade, AtGames, or anything like that. But it's a disservice to customers and in the community. And for those of you looking at the truth, looking at the information, and just so you know, there are people in the closed inner circles and behind the scenes that want this information to be outed. But because they have a close relationship, they don't have the courage enough to really speak out on a lot of these things. But they know it. They won't disagree with a lot of this stuff because they're consumers too. They're customers, and they should say something about it. But when I do it, when I talk to people, whoever the case might be, is to bring attention and awareness so you have a better understanding so things like that don't happen. But this kind of thing, saying that Walmart and Sam's Club and all these other stores broke NDA, and statements like that are fireable offenses and are legal claims, they honestly shouldn't be said in that type of format, because all it's going to do is cause you to walk into the store, get mad at these employees thinking they're irresponsible for putting something out, and you shouldn't be privy to any of this information. And we shouldn't have the understanding or look at any of these employees or the managers that they're going to lose their job simply because John D said they broke embargo, they broke street date, because that's essentially what you're saying, is that somebody needs to be fired. So either somebody's going to get fired, either they're taking up a legal claim or whatever to tell them to stop doing it, or they should keep it to themselves and deal with it privately. Just easier to flip the bird at people and coerce people into pushing a product to hide the truth, unfortunately. Oh, and before I forget, just so you guys know, you can buy Marvel vs. Capcom 2 or order it through Home Depot. So somebody posted that today, that you can order Marvel vs. Capcom 2 through Home Depot. All right, what do we got here? I agree, 1UP is completely off base with blaming retailers. However, I will say that Walmart does break street dates, mine does, on items from other companies, including toys and games. Very true, and, we can't speak on those issues. Thank you for that insight, if you know that. But I'm sure those companies probably handle it a little differently, but that's not even something where the manufacturer of a product needs to relate that to their customers. That's something they need to go handle internally. Zodwriter, I totally agree. True accountability is a weird thing, and I hold myself to that. I know that some people know back in the past when I was releasing a lot of RetroPie 4 videos and you guys didn't have it yet. This was around 2019, and people kept saying, "Oh, stop teasing, stop teasing." Reason why I do stuff like that is because I want you to see the overall process. I want you to see it working. I want you to see it not working. I want you to see the good. I want you to see the bad, because we're all in this together. So that way, when you see the final product, you're like, well, gee, man, yeah, you guys went through a lot, to get this working, and we understand the process. And I'm accountable to this as well. Why do you think I went out and brought so many SSDs, drives? I bought 7 or 8 Raspberry Pis, because if you're working on an image or whatever it is, all right, you want to make sure that you tested your ability, so that way somebody else doesn't have to deal with your mishaps or your mistakes. And there are situations, even when image makers or people are working on single board computer interfaces or front ends, where it could blow out your Pi or your Odroid or whatever it might be. I mean, you don't want to upload a virus to somebody else. And so those are the kind of things that we should be mindful of. But again, if you're buying a $600 unit, I expect perfection. I expect, like my RC cars that are water resistant or waterproof, could take more damage than a Arcade1Up. Costs about the same price. But my point being is, we should know this thoroughly. But knowing that they're making comments and remarks saying, well, I'm not sure if this is going to work, or I'll let you know what this is going to look like in a couple of weeks, while it's sitting in your freaking home, that's just piss poor, and it's just totally inexcusable. while you're burning through your warranty policy, while you're burning through your return date, 15 days, 30 days. No, that's just it's just not acceptable. No one is going to mess with Walmart, though. Disney, Hasbro all had items that came out early in my Walmart. I'm not complaining, though, but Walmart is just too big of a retailer to upset. And, you know, I totally agree. If that was the case, then those kind of comments should have been kept privy internally. That's not even something I should know about. That's not something P-Dubs should even have on his channel to address to any of his subscriber base. Shouldn't even be there. And, you know, I still don't understand why, even to this day, Arcade1Up still wants to pander around to Arcade1Up or content creators when they have their own official channel. I've made it a suggestion. I think John D has even seen it, that if they're doing a release on any type of product whatsoever, it should be done on their official channels. Give us a good hour, 2 hours of their product fully working. And then, you know, we all go to that source, not, you know, individual channels, you know, that people may not heard of, where it'll be fine to find this type of information. But I definitely got some more screenshots I definitely want to share with you guys here. Give me a second. I'm still kind of going through them, with them. Let's see. All right, so this was some other comments online in regards to street date, not really referencing Walmart, whatever. This is just speaking in terms of a generic sense. My position is that as an employee of a retailer, it is neither wise nor ethical to break street date. You're putting your employer in a really tough spot, and you're gambling with your job at the minimum. However, acting like breaking street date is illegal is silly, because if you just walk into a store as a customer and some ill-informed cashier sells you the game, you have a full legal right to that game from that point forward and should not feel intimidated in discussing it publicly. So he's speaking more or less from the consumer standpoint, but yeah, if you are walking into a store, or if a manager or a sales rep gives you an item, yeah, that's a fireable offense there. Well, the cool thing is now is that if you are buying in October, I mean, this is the only thing that's really saving a lot of people, since we are going into the Christmas season. Typically, retailers will extend their return policy anywhere from October 1st till about January 15th or January 31st. So I don't know if they've changed that since COVID, but that is a good thing on their part if that is if they've extended it. Now I know some retailers, I think last year, maybe the year before, they really cut that down, but that is a cool thing. That would be a good thing for individuals buying this unit around this time period. Yeah, and then the other part too that really sucks about ordering from Arcade1Up directly is if you need to return it, you have to break it down. You have to break it down and then ship it back. If you get this unit at Best Buy, Walmart, they'll pretty much take it back assembled, fully assembled. You could just, you don't have to put it back in the box. You could just drop it off on the curb, whatever, and take it back. But if you order, directly, which a lot of content creators have been urging everybody to do, you can order it. Or actually, you would have to break it down and ship it back. But I know they have a lot of high priority on their pre-orders. I don't know exactly what the deal is, but just to give you guys some insight as to how some of the licensing does work. So let's say if I want NFL Blitz and I want a license, right? You have to pay the company that you're licensing from, you have to pay them all that money up front. So whether it's $100,000, $200,000, $300,000, or $500,000, you upfront all of those costs. And then, of course, you get your money back as you're selling it. So they're not getting their money back as sales go on, like, hey, we'll pay you in monthly installments. No, you got to typically pay for all of that up front before you can get the license. So you have to forecast, say, hey, we promised to sell 6,000 units. You break that down, off of the cost of the unit. And then you say, okay, well, for 6,000 units, we want $500,000 or maybe $100,000. All that money is upfronted. So they're in the hole. So that's why there's a lot of FOMO or a lot of hype created doing these Arcade1Up specials, which should take place on their channels. And that's why there's a lot of focus on pre-orders directly from them and not going through. I don't know why they prefer that you go through them and not some of the retailers. Maybe that's why, because they have a harder to return policy. You know, you get it, you open it, you're kind of stuck with them, and so you're not going to be as inapt to just put it in the box and return it as it would be much easier to just return it to a retailer. So many times people have picked up cabs at Walmart before people that pre-ordering got theirs. Yeah, that's very true. You know, that is obviously... Oh, crap. Before I forget, you just reminded me of something. Give me a second here. I want to pull this up. All right. So I just want to show you guys this. This was... You guys know who Don Lenny is. Don Lenny is one of the moderators. He's a good buddy in the community, retro gaming. And I believe he pre-ordered NFL Blitz, but... Again, I'm sorry to get off track here. I got tons of screenshots and stuff that you guys need to see. So apparently somebody posted this from Walmart. This was the same Walmart that Kong Console Kits went to pick up this unit. I believe it is in Indiana. I believe I also called this store as well just to verify some of their policies. And he says, it looks like this pic was taken from a cell phone that was out during the game's first release, Nokia Flip Phone 97. Don Lenny replies, what's that got to do with screwing people on pre-orders? Let's see, that's there. John D replies, you think this is real? So he didn't even believe the photo that somebody posted in a group. And then Don replies, if it's not, remove it. It happens all the time, it's real. And then he replies, oh, it's actually real. Wow. So... I don't know. Personally, this is not the way to respond to people who have spent several $100s on your product. I mean, I know some of you close to John D and say, well, maybe he was joking around, yada, yada, yada. But I personally don't think a higher up or anybody selling a product should immediately dismiss a claim as a photo being Photoshopped to dismiss the claim that the item was in the store, because it was. And... I don't know. You guys can make your own perception about that, but me personally, I just don't think that was the proper response to a customer who forked out $600. Yeah, Zodrider, there is something going on with this. One-up content creators are obviously being rewarded to promote the idea of ordering direct. It's not even subtle. It's a beat into the head of viewers. Especially now, I'll tell you this, there are some content creators that were pissed. I mean, they were really pissed when they saw that photo of me and they saw this at Sam's Club for $30 more and you got the stool. Some of the content creators that you know about weren't happy at all either, because how would they feel to promote an item, whether they're promoting it through Target, I think was the initial retailer. They didn't even mention Walmart or Best Buy on their initial release date. They mentioned, obviously, yeah, it was only Target that was mentioned, not Sam's Club. Best Buy wasn't mentioned. It was only Target. But to be close to somebody within the company and not even giving the heads up that maybe $30 more could have got this from Sam's Club, and Sam's Club has a better return policy, I would tell you that some of the content creators were pissed. They weren't happy about that either. Yeah, why would somebody Photoshop Blitz cabs at a Walmart? I don't know. Exactly. Not something you want from a front man with all the money being spent. Well, and then another thing, too. This is something I personally feel about. If you guys have... obviously I won't take it. You guys have watched all of my videos, but some time ago, I think it was earlier, maybe last year, there was a video I did about the Arcade1Up forum. There was a copyright video. They filed for copyright for like some type of online community, whatever the case might be. I think that video probably has maybe 500 views, something like that, right? And so I believe that might be their motive, is to partner up with YouTube content creators, show potential advertisers that there's a community that they somehow built up in order to maybe advertise and promote. If you guys, let me see if I can find that video. But I don't want to spend too much time doing that because I've already been going for an hour and 18 minutes, and I have more clips that I definitely want to show you guys. But again, this video is meant to be informative. If you don't like it, I totally understand it, but I can't sit by on the sidelines. I don't like people who speak the truth. You know, you got Rexer, Kevgret taking the full brunt of whatever's going on, and us who are familiar with emulation and know right from wrong not say anything. You know, besides the fact that this is a fun channel, you know, I've primarily spent a lot of my time trying to keep it fun, informative, and things of that nature. But one thing I will definitely never let happen is to be knowledgeable about something and not speak on it if I know the truth, especially if I can help give some additional insight as to things that you guys may not be aware about, whereas you may be either taken advantage of or something. Even if you're going to get it, you know, I'm not saying don't buy Blitz, I'm not saying don't buy Marvel vs. Capcom, but you should have the information to make an informed decision, whether you like it or not. And if somebody doesn't like that, because I've had comments, even when I release here, let me pull this up because I don't want to pull up everything. I've had people comment on my Marvel vs. Capcom 2 video. I'll leave this here because obviously if they're not afraid to post something like this publicly, then they can deal with it. But I've had people post on my videos that we should just be okay with defects, that we should be okay. Let's see, I appreciate and understand the passion, but I feel like this is a bit mute and a little bit of fear-mongering. So that video that I released a couple of weeks ago, or actually a month ago, in regards to how Marvel vs. Capcom 2 is being emulated, you still haven't seen it online. I believe they're working on a patch. Actually, they're still struggling with the emulator because it's still in an experimental stage as far as I'm concerned. But you have people thinking that this is fear-mongering because we're bringing attention to somebody's video, a beta tester, saying that it's at 80%. This is a $600 officially licensed scale arcade using modern hardware. Has online play and is easily accessible to purchase versus getting an original arcade that's not easy to purchase. Considering all that, in my honest opinion, it's pretty acceptable for this ARCADE1UP machine to not be 100% perfect. So this is the kind of crap that we shouldn't even have in the community. To have these kind of thoughts, even from viewer, or just even from a consumer, that we shouldn't expect something to be 100% perfect. That's just not acceptable. Thank you, Edward. Thank you for the appreciation. We're not shills here. And, you know, even harsh criticism. You know, I don't even think I've harshly criticized any company. And just so you guys know, too, if I ever had a company, I've had some companies send me some stuff. I contact them directly, and I tell, you know, I say the same stuff in my video. Wolf and Nose can tell you this is the same stuff that I have concerns with. We talk about. So I think one of the biggest irritations with subscribers to channels, and I think maybe even Rexer too, Rexer's a good guy, is that you see people making private conversations. They say one thing, but then publicly they say something else and carry on this facade. And that's what really pisses people off. I hope I don't come off that way to anybody. I know I typically don't make this kind of content where, you know, we just got to go hard on somebody and bring out some information, but it needs to be said. But guess what? If it was said this way, and if it was brought to light in this manner, companies wouldn't do this kind of crap. You know, you wouldn't feel comfortable to put Kong in a situation where he has to address certain concerns of whether he should have said something or whether he not should have said something. He should have said everything officially, whether it's another content creator like UAG or anybody else out there. There's a reason why they like to target certain people. John D would never come on this channel with me, Wolfenos, and several other devs and just spout out information unless he knows his facts are accurate. That would never happen. And in fact, I don't invite anybody on my channel unless they know what they're talking about and they have enough technical sense to have their own research and perform some things indefinitely. We're not a bunch of yes men where we're going to be okay with just whatever you say. And, you know, some people may say it's, you know, I know a lot of content creators may feel like they want a safe spot, and that's fine. But your job and your obligation at the same time should be to do your homework, do your research and put out as much accurate information as possible. And if you don't know, bring somebody on that has that knowledge or that expertise. I've had people on my fireworks channel. I got 5,000 subscribers over there that obviously know more about me than particular matters. I bring them on there and I introduce them as the resident expert. And that's what you should do. Or if you know somebody that knows more than you, if it's light guns, whatever the case might be, have them sitting there. And don't just sit there and tolerate any type of crap that comes on your channel, because if you're okay with that, then yeah, you should be called out, because there's too much information to use any of this kind of stuff as an excuse. As like, well, I didn't know. Or well, that's what somebody else said. No, it shouldn't happen, because I can tell you right now, I put out videos about, what was that, about 2.5 years ago, and I've showed you guys can go through my playlists, because I've done this myself, that you definitely didn't need to overclock a Raspberry Pi in order to get better perfection or better emulation on for Marvel vs. Capcom 2. So understanding John D's answer and looking at it from my aspect, because I've actually done it, he couldn't sit there and give that kind of answer. So he must feel comfortable on some of these platforms or in front of some people's audiences to say that kind of stuff and not be questioned. Unless some of these content creators have a reputation of avoiding comments that may later on be asked. It has to be. Because a lot of, I even saw Mike of All Trades, he made a comment even on one of his videos telling people that this didn't run on PC or whatever. You guys have that on PC. But how comfortable are we now as a community within retro gaming to just blurt out stuff when we can easily Google it? And knowing, I haven't posted a video up on it, I'll post a video up on it, but December last year, you can run PlayStation 2 on the Pi 4. On the Pi 4. So, I don't have, let me see if I have this thing in front of me. I want to pull it up so you guys can see it. But I want to bring up the comparison between the Pi 4 and there's a board. It's called the Orange Pi. I think it's called the Orange Pi 4B. Crap, I don't have it in front of me. But it has very similar specs as to what they're currently using. So if you can emulate PlayStation, and I've said it before, if you can emulate PlayStation 2 games on a Pi 4, what is their excuse in terms of what you're doing? A lot of this hardware requirements that we've talked about, or you guys have maybe heard on other channels, has nothing to do with the hardware requirements. It has to do with emulation. And even House of the Dead, even if you go get the current, the 12th gen i9 that has 18 cores in it, and you tossed in a 4090 in there or 3090 Ti, still can't run House of the Dead Arcade on MAME. It's an emulation issue. It's not hardware. And it's, I don't know. But again, just because you hear somebody say it's a hardware issue, whatever, that's not excusable. Again, why would you get the license for something in this late day and age, as of 2 weeks ago, questioning whether or not your own product could run on what you're advertising? Has any new updates on the PS2 running better now? I haven't been keeping my eye on the Pi now due to the limits it reach. Yeah, you can run. I'll post a video on it. Damien deal with it, but yeah, you can emulate PlayStation 2 games on the Pi 4, and it runs. You're using an Android interface. It's not RetroPie, because RetroPie has its own bottlenecks. But yeah, it is capable of doing that. Let's see here. Robbie Green, I came to this stream not expecting much, but I'm sure glad I joined in. Lots of information and viewpoints that I don't typically see. Good stuff. Keep it up. Thank you. Appreciate it. But please keep in mind, but what I want you guys to do is, even after watching this stream, I don't want you to take all of my information as canon. I want you to go out, call some of these stores, do your own homework, do your own research. Don't just, take the information I'm giving. If you want to, screenshot or go do whatever, that's all fine. But we're not just a community of retro gamers where we're clueless about how the world works. And this is how it should be done. This is and just so you guys know, these are clips from Stuttering Craig. Some of these clips are from Kong's R Us's video. And every reviewer that has said my NFL blitz is running fine didn't exactly know what to look for. But I have timestamps of all these videos. Every one of them have issues. Every last one of them. Even somebody, I was watching your gaming techie. He claimed that he didn't have any hiccups in his. There was issues there. I think even as far as slowdown time and stuttering, there's some comments there on that video. P-Dub's Arcade Loft, I think he questioned his audience while he was watching, like, hey, did you guys notice any slowdown time in there? Yeah, there were issues there when him and Michael B, Console Kits, and 19 King Fox were playing. I went back and watched their video gameplay, and I have the timestamps. Couldn't see everything because there was a huge glare on the screen, but everybody has had some type of issue. So if you watch any review, please share this video with them. That even it's not so much about whether they didn't have an issue or not. They don't know how to recognize it, and it's right in front of them. And, you know, you'll also see some comments. I'm sure they'll pop up here in this video too. Like, well, if you don't have the item, don't talk about it. That was a whole narrative ARCADE1UP started back in 2018. And I can tell you, if you guys didn't know this, maybe this is the first time you're hearing this, because I've been told in confidence that when ARCADE1UP first released, the original marketing team had an online hit squad. And they would go out and attack social media content creators that had an objective view of their products prior to release. You guys may not know that. In fact, it was me. It wasn't Cool Toy, but I'm just giving you guys some names of some of the original ARCADE1UP content creators, because most of the people you see now are all brand new. It was me, Cool Toy. There was another guy named Eddie who was really good with Centipede. There was another guy named Dead Moon from the Graves, if you guys happen to remember him. He had a lot of objective reviews too. There was also Shane Rares. He did a review of ARCADE1UP back in 2018. But there's some other guys too. And I haven't kept in contact with anybody, but a lot of objective reviews. Their marketing team went after a lot of these and left very harsh comments. And I have screenshots of all these comments too, by the way. I deleted some of them. If you guys go back to my 2018 video, where a lot of comments were made in regards to their product. So this thing has been brewing for a very long time. And so I wanted to, obviously what 3-4 years later, my channel has grown. Obviously, a lot of people commented, didn't know exactly where we'd be going, how familiar we are with technology. But it's been an ongoing issue in the community for quite some time. Yeah, you know what? I'm so glad you brought this up, Zodwriter. The problem with a lot of these one-up content creators is that they don't know the original Arcade Blitz, so they don't notice the glitches. And one of the things that I'm definitely sick and tired of seeing is people jumping in front of a cabinet, jumping in front of a video, and the first thing you hear them holler at the top of their lungs is, I'm not familiar with the original arcade, or I've never played this in an arcade, at the arcade. Then what the hell are you doing? And these would be some of the individuals quickly ready to be first to get some of these units so they could do a review. And, one of the things, too, is you got to be very careful to be the first one. I think maybe some people probably do this, is that if you're the first person to get a review, you can floss over the deficiencies. You can say, hey, look how pretty it looks. You'll see the camera move to the left, move to the right. You'll see the nice, marquee and let me show you, take it out of the box and let me tell you about the quality. But they won't speak on the emulation because they've never done it before, or they've never actually played the original hardware. But a lot of these people quickly expose themselves. And honestly, I've watched. I haven't made a lot of ARCADE1UP content but I've gotten sick and tired of it. Again, I can't sit here and know something, not speak on it. But it's tragic on how we've somehow accepted this. Like, this is okay to sit in front of content where someone says, well, I've never played this before and I can't tell you this, yada, yada, yada. But I've also noticed something else. I've talked to one of the guys that's familiar with Dragon's Lair. They have pushed away, or they have kind of avoided people who are knowledgeable, because people who are knowledgeable can point out certain things. So I have noticed that in their advertising when they like to partner up with people. Should do hold on, let me scroll back up here, sorry. Should do an ARCADE1UP comparison since I own the original cabinet. Twisted, that would be great, but I think at this point this game has so many deficiencies and the online hasn't been out yet. I think, I mean, that would be good, but at the same time it would be a waste of money because there have been a lot of content creators exposing some of this stuff. So I mean, if you want to get it, obviously, you know, because you enjoy it, then yeah, it'd be fine. But you know, I mean, at this point in time, I think that a lot of this has been exposed to where people can make a sound decision and could kind of notice some of the obvious glitches, even within their own system, without having to do a comparison. But it would be cool to see, though. That would be nice to see. Do you think they'll make more MVC2 cabinets at the right price? It'll go down in price and they'll be more available. They're showing up at Home Depot even as we speak. Actually, you could order online through Home Depot. Yes, Chris, please do it. I'm not spending that kind of money on it. That was the time of the past. Perfectly. Okay, I just saw that. Yeah, great idea. I wouldn't waste any kind of money on this just to do a... You know, I had somebody offer me some money to do a review comparison. And I was just like, no. I mean, I think there was enough reviews out there so we could get a better understanding as to how this would work. Personally, I think that they have created fake FOMO for Marvel vs. Capcom 2. You know, I agree anybody's efforts to advertise something, but what I don't like to hear is let's hype this up. Let's go get a professional game player to test this and kind of back our products. And then when people start criticizing it, want to say, well, we're just a toy company. We're just a toy company. Like, lighten up on us. We're just a toy company. You know, like don't take anything that we do too seriously. We're just a toy company. But yet you go get a professional gamer to help market your stuff. But yet you want to rub shoulders with other people that may be familiar with emulation and in the gaming. But you want to create a hardcore fighting game community. But, oh, it's just a toy company because it's glitching. You know, because there's a letter on the screen. You know, they don't take us too seriously. We've gotten here because people have slept on it when it's been in their face all along. Very true. Yeah, and people are slowly just starting to wake up. But primarily, all the games that they've had up until this point, with the exception of Terminator 2, this game, Marvel vs. Capcom 2, have been very hard to emulate. And Terminator 2, even though it doesn't have a lot of system requirements, because I know a lot of people have been upset in regards to the Terminator game, light gun game. People have said the emulation on that one is poor. That's actually one of the trickier ROMs to get working correctly in retro gaming if you're using a RetroPie or Odroid. You have to have the proper ROM and properly associated with the emulator. Even though it doesn't have a lot of system requirements, there are a number of ROMs that I've made mentally note of over the past few years that you have to pay very close attention to appropriate it or with the right emulator, because it can have difficulties running. Another game is Space Gun, if you guys are familiar with that. There's, I think, MAME, like for example, MAME 2015 will run it, but 2010 and 2003 won't run it. So again, you can't slap a number of these games just on a PCB and expect it to work. But they've gotten away with it, like Frogger, Pac-Man, and all this other stuff. That stuff is easy. You don't, I mean, you could just toss it on there and just it'll pretty much run the way it's supposed to. Some just unaware who just want to have fun, correct? Wolf exactly is debacle, like Blitz finally bring it to light. Can't ignore it as much as they try. But, you know, again, I've heard people say this issue is very much like Cyberpunk. In my experience, in my opinion, I believe it's worse than Cyberpunk, even though Cyberpunk is a AAA title. You're dealing with a company that can't even tell you if their requirements will be enough to run what they promised you. Cyberpunk was just investors saying we need to hurry up and get that right. Nobody sat there and said, well, we're not sure if your Intel i9 9700K or your 30, actually at the time it would have been a 2080 Ti or your 3070 or 3080. We're not sure if any of that's going to run our game. No, nobody said any of that. We knew they were rushed. But, you know, and again, that has to deal with, investors. A little different. I think this is probably more or less on the lines of Watch Dogs, if you guys are familiar with that debacle, where they advertised the game would run with particular specs and particular hardware. And even if you had even some of the latest stuff now, I still don't think you can get 60 frames out of Watch Dogs. But check the sources on that. But I think it more or less lines up with that. Walmart is going to have a boatload of Marvel vs. Capcom 2 cabs that FOMO is manufactured and is for the purpose of driving up sales numbers as quickly as possible. Yeah, it probably has something to do with internally when they go to the next investor or ask for another license. They probably need to justify how many sales they had within a 2-week time frame, going through them directly as opposed to going through another retailer. Where's the FOMO for the new flashlights? All right. Let me see. I think I've kind of gone through here enough of the screenshots. Let's see here. Give me a second. I'm just kind of going through this. And for ladies and gentlemen, if this is your first time watching this channel, I'm not going to apologize, but sometimes crap needs to be dealt with. Companies definitely need to be held accountable, as well as content creators. I do believe that we as content creators should be held, in a standard to where if we're saying something, we should be knowledgeable about it. And I know it's only YouTube, but at the same time, if we're asking for your subscription, asking you to watch our videos, we should operate within ethical guidelines of what you think, typically would be expected either as a company, have an understanding of some laws, have an understanding of product availability, and we should present ourselves as a professional when communicating a lot of these things to you. So if you haven't been getting that anywhere else, I apologize, but that's not the way things ought to be done. All right, here, let me see. Nope. All right. I think I've kind of gone through everything, guys. Make sure you share this video. It's not coming down. I ain't pulling it down for nobody. And, I definitely want to address another thing, too. This is why people are called shills. Is when you get to the point where your content becomes so obvious, where you won't speak on certain things, and a lot of people won't say them publicly. This is why you get called a shill. Is repetition. You must be doing something or saying something over and over, and obviously not pointing out blatant blunders. And then what happens is you may have pumped up and hyped up a product so much, flossed over all the issues, and they get it, and then now they have to deal with all the crap, and then they comment in the local forums, and then people are just say, well, you're just complaining about an issue. You shouldn't talk about it. Nobody else has reported it. And so that's frustrating for a person who may not be a social media content creator. It's somebody not familiar with this. And I'm not speaking as somebody just as a content creator. I'm also speaking as somebody who would get seriously irked if I buy something and then I got to turn around and do a bunch of research to find out it's not working the way that it was advertised. You guys have seen me on social media, but you guys haven't seen me in person because I go off on this kind of stuff, where I have to do some additional research just to I buy something, spend my hard-earned money, and growing up as a kid, my parents weren't rich. They weren't the kind of people that would just buy something or refund it if it was broken. If something didn't work right, I would just have to swallow it. And then they would just say, oh, well, you know what? That's, it serves you right. You bought something, you wanted us to buy it. Now you're complaining that it's working. I remember those days. And so when I see situations like that, this is personal for me, is to have people that are knowledgeable about something, but too coward to say something about it because they don't want to damage your reputation, because they're too close to a company. And that's why I get on here to address these things, because they could be prevented. And what if you bought this for a little kid that want to get on here and enjoy it? This isn't something that they need to remember, broken down stuff and whatever the case might be. Thanks, Twisted Chris. Once people get too close to a company, they tend to lose that objectability. Yeah, I would have to agree with that. I think people need to keep in mind that your social media content is your own personal brand, and you should never jeopardize your integrity or who you are to get something for free. And honestly, it's not free because advertising costs $10,000. They send you a $25 cab in the mail and you get happy about something like that. And they should be paying, like there's another freeze right there. And they should be paying $10,000, $50,000 for advertisement. It's not free. So you shouldn't sell yourself short. John D said he hates the word, but he perpetuates it too. Yeah, that's definitely true. Oh, yeah, I remember when he said that. What if your family member... Exactly. What if your family member bought this? You know, my sister, grandmother, anybody else, they're not familiar with gaming or whatever. And that's why I come on here, I say these things and bring it to the attention because... and just so you guys know, I was really shocked to find out a few weeks ago when I made that video on the 14 millisecond response time. Every content creator in the Arcade1Up forum praised the BOE monitor. And I hadn't made any Arcade1Up content in a long time, but they literally praised the BOE monitor. So I decided to look at the specs because I hadn't bought an Arcade1Up unit since 2020 when they screwed up the online, and that's here on the channel as well. And they never did fix those desyncing issues or whatever. But looking at the specs, 14 milliseconds response time is not acceptable for a game like Marvel vs. Capcom 2. And what I've also noticed too is a lot of people will only speak out on a subject after they've noticed what the narrative in the community has been. 14 milliseconds has never been acceptable for any gaming standard. Now, does the monitor look nice? Yeah, but they should have went with the crappy looking TN monitor, which has a 5 millisecond delay for that type of gaming. But it was never brought up until I brought a video. Then all of a sudden everybody had, talking about lag time, response time, and all that other kind of stuff. But people have already seemed to put themselves out there. So again, you need to do your own homework, have an understanding about how some of this stuff works, because it does ruin some of your enjoyment. It does impact play. But again, just pointing out some facts. Not once have I ever seen a content creator not back down when John D is on. He never gets pressed when being interviewed by his kid gloves. Ooh! All right, so just so you guys know, I am one of the original streamers for, let's see, a Wolf of Game. I'm one of the original live streamers for Arcade1Up. It was me, Wolf of Gaming, and Super Dimensional. And so I want to find this video where John D was being hard pressed at CES. I'm not sure if you guys will be able to hear the audio. I should have probably downloaded this video first. I'm going to pull it up here. But I'll leave a link here. You guys can watch it yourself. But this was the acknowledgement of BOE monitors. Now, again, this is at CES 2019. My buddy, Wolf of Gaming, was hard pressing him about the BOE monitors. You guys didn't know him as the BOE. And then, in fact, when I made a video about the BOE monitor, here, let me stop this really quick. A lot of people in the community and other content creators said, well, Keo, we really can't believe you because we weren't there. And we're giving you groundbreaking information on the floor. Here, let me pull this up. All right, I don't think the audio is going to come through. Apologize about that. But the link is in the chat. You guys can watch this. But he was being hard pressed about the BOE monitor. So this is John D's first interaction with the community. I believe this was live stream, saying, hey, is this a BOE monitor? We could tell that, well, actually it wasn't BOE monitor. The monitor was nuclear. It was much bright and vibrant than we've seen in some of the Gen 1 arcade cabinets. This was January of 2019. And he said, no, these are the same monitors. These aren't, any different, whatever. And so he gave us, or actually this gentleman, some additional information contrary to what you believe. So this was the first time you guys seen it anywhere. And we were given some misinformation. I don't think he was a senior vice president at that time. But it was pointed out here. As you guys can see, that's the BOE monitors there in Mortal Kombat 2. Oh, no, it's okay. That's the reason why you guys are over here watching this, so I can show you some additional information. I got a lot of stuff documented to kind of keep track of this. But sorry, Q, I missed it. No offense meant. I love to see him get asked hard questions and held to an answer. Oh, yeah, that's perfectly fine. But again, this was not even just hard questions. This was just somebody asking questions about products, but we were led to believe something different. To some extent, I'm okay with it because it is CES. You know, obviously they'll put the best in whatever, but you are looking at the first ever BOE monitors are being shown here, January 2019, but it was quickly dismissed, and it wasn't picked up until 2018, 2019. I think somebody commented in the groups. That's the girl. She I forgot her name. She worked for Ad Games right now I think she works with Ad Games. But yeah, Cool Toy did a video on it, and then all of a sudden everybody believed it. But there it is, right then and there. All right, guys, I'm sorry. I had intended to go about 2 hours, but I wanted to get as much information as possible. Please share this video, like, and subscribe. Hopefully this is the last we've heard of this issue, but I wanted to bring it to light. I needed to say it. Other content creators need to have a backbone and say certain things, because if we're here on the platform, we should be putting out accurate information or actually bringing in professional journalism, quote unquote. I thought Gen 2 was something different, and BOE came in Gen 3. Maybe, but you know, these were higher quality monitors that I even said were nuclear at that time. But these weren't the standard TN monitors. So I think I probably did have additional screenshots, video clips that I wanted to share, but hopefully you guys got the gist of this. I don't live stream much. I thank you guys all for watching and giving me your time tonight. But again, like and subscribe. Also, make sure you check out my fireworks channel, KIODIEKIN. I'll type in the link to the description here. Let me go ahead and if you also want to send a super chat or thank me on Patreon, it's KIODIEKIN as well. But maybe you guys haven't seen this kind of heated content. It needed to be said. Because again, my pet peeve is I don't like people being taken advantage of, especially when you may not know, when it may not be within your realm to maybe find out, understand some of these other technical things. And a lot of people watching this video and the groups that I'm affiliated with are devs, work on emulation, and either worked on front ends, worked on single board computers. We're very knowledgeable about the information that you guys have put out. And so it's time that a lot of this crap comes to rest. So I will catch you guys later. Thank you again. You guys all have a great night. Peace out. Bye-bye.